Well, howdy folks, it's Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician here, and I am making a video for you in Lubbock, Texas. I am in a hotel parking lot, and I have a rental car here, a 2016 Ford Focus that I rented through Toro. And unfortunately, on our trip here, I started hearing a belt squeal, and the engine started running a little funny, so I went in here and looked and noticed there was a puddle underneath it, and the water pump has started leaking. Now, I want to give a huge shout out to the Turo host and Turo and everything. The host learned that I am a professional mechanic. I own a professional shop back in Eagle, Idaho, so we talked about it, and I quoted the job out, and they were also kind enough to go ahead and pay the labor so I could also purchase the tools and equipment that I needed. So, and it's actually a good example to show that sometimes we think that mechanics just get all the labor that they're paid when we really don't. It does cost money, and each professional job has an overhead. So I picked up absolutely everything we needed to perform a professional job in this parking lot. New water pump. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a new belt. They didn't have one in stock, so here goes. Now, some of you have been watching me since day one, and you know that I've fixed vehicles on my back, laying in the dirt, out in fields, and all that other stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and get this show started. Now, I've already got the vehicle jacked up a little bit so I can get underneath there and I can drain the coolant out. The next thing I need to do is get my lines disconnected on the front here, get this coolant reservoir out of the way. Then we need to support the engine from underneath. I'm going to use the jack to do that, and we need to get the engine mount removed, and then we need to get the tensioner and the belt removed, and we should have access to our water pump, so then we can go ahead and get our water pump out. So I'm going to pause it real quick and go ahead and begin getting things drained out, removed, and I'll come back and show you that. Okay, so as you can see underneath, I've got the coolant draining, and I've got my hose line disconnected here. Now I need to go in and I need to disconnect my radiator hose line here, and then the next step will be to remove the coolant reservoir out of the way. Okay, so if I were in shop, I would probably use a pry bar and a few other tools to get this coolant reservoir out of the way so I could get my engine mount out of the way. Unfortunately, I don't like the way this is clipped in here, and so without those tools, I'm actually going to go ahead and just work around it the best I can, move this engine mount. So I'm going to go ahead and do that next, guys. But it's getting interesting, that's for sure. All right, so now as you can see, I now got the engine mount out of the way. I've got much more access and room down to my water pump. And now that we've got even more clear access to it, we can definitely see where it's been leaking. It's a little dried up now, but you can see if you look at the tip of my finger, right about there, there's coolant drip down on the alternator there. So we're gonna go ahead and get the belt removed and everything out of the way, and we're almost to where we need to be. Alrighty, folks. Whew. I'll tell you what, it is getting hot out here in this Texas sun, man. It is 80 plus degrees, and this Idahoan is just not used to it. So, okay, so we've got the engine mount off. We have the tensioner out of the way, and I am now working on getting the water pump pulley off, and then next will be the water pump. And again, you can see in here, so once I get the water pump off, I'll show you. As a matter of fact, I can wiggle this back and forth. So bearings are definitely shot in that water pump, and it's going to be coming out of the weep hole. You can see it all right here as well. So we're almost there, though. Alrighty, guys, we are just about there. Another challenge was getting the pulley for the water pump out, so I had to jack the engine up just a little bit more per the jack that I have underneath it to do that. So now it's time to get the water pump out. Alrighty, folks, so I'm just a little over 3 hours into this job now. It took a while to get the water pump off and out of there. That was a big challenge. It always is on these cars. If you're in shop or if you're working for yourself, you can, use a hydraulic jack instead of the car jack and all that other good stuff to help you jack the engine up as high as needed. I also don't have any pry bars here with me, so a pry bar will definitely make a difference. I had to get creative with pliers and other tools to get her out, so I got her out. So now let's get it all back together. Alrighty folks, and so after working around the coolant reservoir, removing my hoses and my lines, my engine mount, the tensioner and the belt, then from there I had, before I removed the engine mount, I supported the engine, jacked it up, and that gave me the clearance that I needed, that once I got the belt off, I could get down in there and get the water pump and all of that out. So I am basically done with the labor. Now it's time to get in here, get it filled back up with coolant, get it burped out, all that other good stuff. So I'll show you the running vehicle here in just a little bit. Alrighty guys, we are basically done. I've got the coolant filled. Now I have it filled a little bit above max for a reason. That's because we need to burp and bleed the coolant system out. So we got to get all the air bubbles out of the system since we have the water pump off. And the way you do that is by running the heater full max and starting the car, getting it up to temperature. So that's what we're going to do next, is start the car, bleed the cooling system out, and hopefully we will be finished. Alrighty folks, there you have it. It's actually already starting to run better. The reason why it wasn't running too well is because the belt was starting to get wet and it was slipping and making a squealing noise. But the moment I heard the belt squeal, I figured it'd be better for me to stop and check it for the host that I'm renting it from on Turo. So, and again, I want to give a big shout out to the host. If they had not been so trusting of paying actual prices to get this done, there's no way I would have been able to have the overhead to get what I needed to get it done. So huge shout out to my Turo host and everybody out there. I appreciate you. I need to go ahead and get this finished up so I can get figured out where I'm going, what I'm doing, and all that other stuff. So, okay folks, well this is Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician, doing an old school job like I used to out in a parking lot for you. I am signing off.